When what you fight for is a righteous cause, you don't need validation from someone else because you know, down to your very bone marrow, that you're right. But damn if it doesn't feel good to have someone else repeating what you already know.
I like it.
An article was released a few days ago by Forbes which excoriates Lucasfilm for the handling of the Gina Carano situation. This means that the point of view of Star Wars fans is finally getting a bit of mainstream agreement. It might not seem like much at first blush, but this is pretty big news. Hollywood writer Kamran Pasha, a man who's been around the business for some time, said this a few weeks ago on The Midnight's Edge.
So what is happening is this Lucasfilm civil war has now gone really, really intense behind the scenes. And I know I'm going to say this, there are definitely people that want Ms. Kennedy out, right? And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would be shocked if that didn't include Mr. Chapek, who's a bean counter, right? Who's like, this isn't good for our finances. This isn't good for the shareholders. How do you do that politically, especially in the current environment with people are afraid of the woke crowds, right? They have to find a way to do it. So I think the telltale sign will come if you start getting sort of the rumors spreading like they have been spreading with Amber Heard. Which is the leaks being sent out in some way degrading Kathleen Kennedy's reputation. The moment one of those comes out and you start hearing people saying nasty stuff about Kathleen Kennedy, rumors, that's when the kill move is being prepared.
Alright, so let's read a bit of the Forbes article, and then we'll talk about the rumors coming out of Lucasfilm these past few days, because apparently Kennedy, the pathetic, desperate old clone, is clinging desperately to power. She knows the end is coming, and she's trying to insulate herself from the coming shitstorm by popularizing one of the terrible ideas produced by her story group. But it ain't gonna work because it is in fact a terrible idea. The forecast calls for a storm of extra nasty shit, Kathleen, and you ain't got an umbrella.
Yo, she-bitch. Let's go.
So the article reads, I've been sitting on this article for a while, allowing my opinion to form. That's something that many companies don't do enough of these days. Instead, they often rush to conclusions too fast, yielding to the views of a few vocal members of the community rather than allowing time and consideration to inform decisions. Well, holy crap and hallelujah! It sounds like this guy suffers from an acute outbreak of common damn sense, an antiquated condition which journalists have been immune to for some time. The latest example is Disney's firing of Gina Carano from The Mandalorian in February. She is a conservative who is not shy about expressing her views, the latest being a comment that compared conservatives being silenced and canceled today to Jews being targeted during the Holocaust. An exaggerated comparison? Yes. But enough to fire her? Doubtful. She's more guilty of a bad comparison. Gina should have likened today's conservative cancel culture to the 1950s congressional hearings held to expose entertainment people who were members or sympathizers of the Communist Party. 10 influential actors and screenwriters were eventually jailed and blacklisted by the major movie studios for denouncing the hearings and refusing to name those who had expressed communist sympathies. That's a better comparative. Ironically, when Disney fired Gina for her opinions, it inadvertently proved her point. I feel like that's a point that not enough of us are talking about. Gina was absolutely correct. Hell, even Bill Maher agrees with her.
By the way, you can't work in Hollywood if you don't believe what we believe. Yeah, in the 50s, that's exactly what the left complained they were being told.
Her point was that hatred and division were fueling cancel culture, and they proved her right by canceling her for saying what we were all thinking out loud. It was the perfect storm of hypocrisy, and now that shitstorm is heading Kathleen Kennedy's way.
Storm's coming up, honey. You better get home quick.
We can disagree as to whether Disney was justified or not in firing Gina, but one thing is clear, Disney's management of its social responsibility persona is woefully flawed. To begin, the company's approach is confusing. Many assert that Pedro Pascal, star of The Mandalorian, offered similar analogies that Carano did, though with a liberal bent, when he shared a now-deleted Instagram post comparing Trump voters to World War II bad guys. Pascal kept his job. Carano did not. Disney's inconsistent approach led outsiders to suspect that Disney leans left, something that CEO Bob Chapek denied at the recent shareholder meeting by stating, "I don't really see Disney as characterizing itself as left-leaning or right-leaning, yet instead standing for values that are universal." But management cannot afford to treat employees differently for similar actions. It makes Chapek's comments appear disingenuous. The company needs a universally consistent approach for its universal values. Yes, a universally consistent approach would beat the hell out of their current public relations strategy.
This is fine.
Disney's approach is dangerous. Canceling people for their views is the proverbial slippery slope. The maxim, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it," is losing ground to a rather frightening alternative of, "I disapprove of what you say, and I will cancel you for it." In the past, organizations that needed to distance themselves from employees' controversial opinions would make a public statement that the employees' opinions are theirs alone and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Done. Banishment was reserved for more egregious behaviors like debilitating drug abuse, assault, robbery, and murder. The 1950s blacklisting experience reinforced our belief that speech and political affiliation need to be protected, but we seem to have forgotten the lesson. As companies cancel people for their opinions, it feeds a dangerous cycle. The more they cancel, the more they embolden the mob to target more people and organizations. Then repeat. Disney and many other organizations are playing a very dangerous game out of fear, partisanship, and/or misplaced sincerity. The beast they helped to create and indulge may eventually devour them. This is my one area of contention with this article. It's not that cancel culture may eventually devour them, it will devour them. We're already seeing signs of that. Look at Rosario Dawson. The Twitter mob has descended on her recently, despite the fact that she's a woman of color who says all the right things and is dating a woke politician. If she isn't pure enough to avoid cancellation, then nobody is.
You cannot wield it. None of us can.
And that brings me back to Kathleen Kennedy. She's been trying to sabotage Jon Favreau's work, using her SJW acolytes within Lucasfilm and the SJW Twitter mob. They created the Gina Carano catastrophe, condemning her and canceling her, and then she pointed the finger at Favreau, saying that Gina was one of his. She tried the same thing with Rosario Dawson. And now she's found a new way to try to wrestle creative power from Jon Favreau. Rumors have it that Kathleen Kennedy really loves the new character Geode. You know, The Rock.
What the Rock
No, not that dude. This dude. She thinks Geode is a clever invention, and she wants him written into the upcoming Mandalorian seasons. She believes that if people just see him on screen, then she and her story group will be hailed as geniuses.
You want everyone to like you?
Yeah, why? Do people not like me?
Kathleen wants Geode in Mandalorian because she thinks it will be a hit and it will set her up for success because Geode is set to appear in The Acolyte, the last Star Wars show she has any control over. Naturally, however, Favreau is having none of this and he's letting Kathleen Kennedy hang out to dry. The Disney higher-ups are apparently siding with Favreau on this one. I think she's going to be gone soon, folks. Stay tuned.
At an end, your rule is...
Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.